Hey, welcome back to Data Maths Concepts. If you're joining this channel for the first time, I would like you to subscribe to the channel right now. Like this video and share it. All right, so let us take a look at this question. Looking at question number one, it says 5 and 2/5 plus 4 and 3/7. It's a multiple choice, and as you could see, everything is equal to 9. So I'm not going to convert it. No, I'm only going to work this part because already we know that the response is going to be 9 and something. So we're going to work with that other part, right? So 35, 14, 15. This becomes 29 over 35. So we're looking at 9 and 29 over 35, which is this. So as you could see, the idea here is that because I know that we'll get 9 and everything here is already 9, we don't need to prove that it is 9. We know already. So we want to improvise and make sure that we take a look at what we're doing. So we want to take a look at this. What percent of this is this? Let us be careful not to mix ourselves up. What percentage off goes at the bottom is always on top. So we want to make note that we put the off at the bottom and the is on top. It doesn't matter which number is bigger, doesn't matter. And we want to change it to percentage. We could break this down and do what we have to do with it. But then again, there are two answers that are way off. As you could see, because the numerator is bigger, my answer must be over 100% because the numerator is bigger. So it's either C or D. But when you take a look at this, you do realize that you're not using any calculator in the exam. So breaking down this will cause problem. But I could use subtraction and help me out here. If I quickly subtract the 340 from the 425, right? I'm going to get 85. That means the 340 could go into the 425 one time, which is 100% already. We know that. And 85 leave over. But that's 85 over. This is like 85 over 340. 85 over 340 is less than a half. So that means this is off because this is 152. 85 is like a quarter. So C would be my response. A lot of times for these questions, it's kind of rough to work it out depending. Like this one, if you try to break it down, you might stop. But definitely, if you utilize your knowledge, you'll be able to see that this is 100% plus 25% more. Let us take a look at the 3. It says here, in scientific notation, what is 170.04? All right, so scientific notation. Remember, in scientific notation, we want to represent the idea as a times 10 raised to the n, where a is a number less than 10 but greater than or equal to 1. The decimal point must come after the first non-zero digit. So it's going to move itself to here. So it's going to be 1.7004 times 10. And definitely it moved 2 places. So we're going to raise it to the 2. And here it is. That's the answer right there. So that's question 3. Let us take a look at question 4. Question 4 says, item 4 refers to the following diagram. The fraction of a circle has been shaded, right? So we're looking at the fraction of the circle that is shaded is what? Okay, so they're asking us what fraction of the circle was shaded here. What you want to do is to subtract the angle that we got so that we could know the angle that is not shaded. So 360 minus, you want to make sure that you subtract this. So 360, you want to take out 285 from that, and we're going to get about 75. So this angle here is 75. So because they said what fraction of it is shaded, we want to represent 75 over 360 because it is 75 over the entire thing. So you could try to break this down using any number that you wish. Let us say I use 5. 5 into 75 is 15. And 5 into 360, that's about 72. So here it is, I have 15 over 72. But we could divide this by 3. I'm just saying 3 into this would give me 24. 3 into this would give me about 5. 5 over 24 is a very good answer. And here it is. So we keep moving. There are 40 students in a class. 40 students in a class. Girls make up 60% of the class. 25% of the girls wear glasses. How many girls in the class wear glasses? First, you want to find how many girls are in the class. So we're going to find the 60% of 40. All right, so 60% of 40, cancel your zeros, you're getting 25 girls in the class. Of these 24 girls, 25 wear glasses. So 25% of anything is divided by 4. 6 of these persons are actually wearing glasses. So 6 of those girls are wearing glasses. So all we have to do is to read these questions and make sure that we're paying attention to details. All right, let's keep going. We're at number 6, right? So number 6 says, if 560 is shared in the ratio 2 to 3 to 9, the difference between the largest and the smallest share is what? There are many approaches to this. What I could do is to take a look at the difference between the ratios right now. For example, we're talking about 2 and 7 and 9. If we should subtract the 2 from the 9, we're going to get 7, which means that the smaller compared to the larger, it's 7 parts in terms of difference. Let us add these up to get the total. That's 5 plus 9. This is 14. I'm going to divide my 56 into 14, right? So if you divide 560, should say, into 14, 560 divided by 14 will give us what? This is about 40. All right, so it's going to give us about 40 right there. So 1 part is 40. So we're saying that 1 part is 40 because we did divide the total here, which is 14, into this. So that means 7 parts, which would have been 7 times this, is going to give us 280. So we're looking at the fact that the difference between the largest and the smallest is going to be actually $280 because it's 7 proportional parts that are actually different. All right. All right, let's keep going. Number 7. The first three common multiples of 3, 4, and 6 are the first 3 common multiples of this. So this is not a multiple. These are not multiples, right? And we thought these are not multiples because 3 cannot go into 8. Definitely, if I eliminate the first 3, I'm going to just pick the last one without proving. So what we want to look at is 1 can eliminate. And when you eliminate 3 already, my advice to you, do not prove the next one. Pick it. So we're looking at number 8. What is the highest common factor of 54, 72, and 90? 90. All right. So we're looking at the highest common factor here. Well, depends on how much you know your numbers. So this is not a factor. That's not a factor. We're talking about there are 2 answers that are way off, right? So we're now thinking between these 2. 18 and 9 both could go into this. So in terms of the highest one, it's going to be 18. So guys, we want to take a look at the ideas. There are 2 questions, 2 of the responses that are actually way off. We actually could throw those away and then zoom in. 301 can be written as what? We have to observe to see what's going on. Well, this is 300 plus 1, right? In other words, this is 300 times 100 here plus 1. So that is 301 right there. So the fact that I got that already correct, I'm not even going to check the others. They cannot be right. So let's go to number 10. By the distributive law, what could this be? What I'm going to do here is to apply my factorization skills. Because when you factorize by the highest common factor, you're actually doing the distributive property backwards. So the common factor is 49. 49 into this will leave me with 17. 49 into this will leave me with 3. So what I'm looking at is 49 times 20, and that is actually C. So we apply ourselves and we keep going. Let's take a look at number 11. At this part of the exam, we always get sets, right? So it says in the Venn diagram above, the shaded area represents what? As you could see, the shaded area is everything but P. So whenever you're referring to everything except the set in reference, then it's the complement of it. And this is the complement symbol right here. This thing here that looks like a little comma. It's the complement of P, which means it's everything outside of P, right? Number 12, P and Q are two finite sets such that the number in P is 7, the number in Q is 5, P intersect Q is 3. What is N? What is P union Q? There is a quick formula that we want to employ here. So the formula says that if I want to find the number in P union Q, it is going to be the number in P plus the number in Q, and we're going to subtract the number in P intersect Q. All right. So in this context, then we're talking about 7 plus 5, and we're taking away 3. 12 minus 3, this is 9. The answer is B for number 12. And we want to make sure that we have this, because this other question seems like it's one of the high repeating ones. Item 13 refers to the following diagram. Let's take a look at the diagram. Right. It says the two circles above represent set P and set Q. If factors of 6, P, and factors of 4, that's for Q, then what is going to be the shaded? Factors of 6, we could quickly list them. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 6. Factors of 4, 1, 2, and 4. What is common here? What is common is actually 2 and 1. So when we're looking for the shaded region, we could see that this is the region where the numbers that are factors of 4, they're also factors of 6, and 2 and 1 would have satisfied that. Question 14, we're looking at integers that are, the universal set refers to integers, P is positive, and N is negative. Which of the diagram below illustrate this? So we're talking about the fact that we understand that negative and positive integer, they do not overlap. They have nothing in common. So we're looking for disjointed set. And in this case, we're talking about this because the positive numbers and the negative numbers they are actually on two different sides of 0. So 0 would have split them, which means that they are disjointed, all right, as a set. Question 15, if P sweets are sold at Q cents, then one sweet is going to equal to what? So one sweet is sold for what? So what you want to do is to put the sweets at the bottom based on the fact that they want to know what's the cost for one. So I'm going to put the number of sweets at the bottom, and I'm going to put the cost at the top. All right. So in this case, what is the sweets? If P sweets are sold at Q cents, so I'm going to put the Q at the top and I'm going to put the P at the bottom because in this question, what I'm looking at is dollars, right? 1. So when I say sweets into sweets, that's where the 1 is going to be. And whatever this number is, it's the cost. So we want to make sure that the P is at the bottom. You have to make sure, be careful that you don't error. 3 1/4%, right? Of 500 is what? All right, let us take a look at what this is. There are many ways I could get this. I could break this down. I could break this down into pieces. For example, we kind of know what it can't be. So let us just zoom in. 1% of anything is to divide it by 100. Right? So if I divide this by 100, this is 1%. I'm just showing you an idea. 1% is 5. 2% is to double that, which is 10. 3% is to triple the 5, which is 15. So already this is off. So my answer is 15. This, well, I'm not sure which else is off, but definitely I know that number 1 is off. No, so let us take a look now. That's 1%. So we have 15% here, 3% here, should say. We have 3% here, which is 15. Now we need a 1/4%. Quarter, this is 1 and a quarter means to divide by 4. If I divide the 5 into 4 equal pieces, right? You're going to get 1/25. So if I divide the 5 into 4, I get 1.25. So if I add that to the 15, I'm getting 16.25. That's just one of the approach. If you want to work it out the regular way, one in which you're going to represent your percentage, like you want to say 3.25 over 100 times 500, you get the answer just the same. So 100 into itself 1, 100 into this is 5. Then you could find your answer by saying 3.25 times 5. Definitely, you're going to end up with the same answer. All right, so we're saying that whichever way you see best for you, you work it, they work. Susan bought a calculator for 120. She sold it. She had to pay a sales tax of 10% on the price. How much change would she get from 140? All right, so let us read the question. She bought it for this. She had to pay 10% tax, right? So 10% tax, 10% of 120 is to drop off the zero here, which is $12. So this is the tax right there, $12, right? 10% is always just to drop off a zero at the back or just move your decimal place one place to the left. So now what it is that the thing really costs, it's going to be all of that. So it costs 132. This is the cost with tax. From 140, you're going to be left with $8, right? So you could see how quickly you can work these through. Definitely, there is no calculator that is needed for this. Let's go at number 18. So at number 18, it says 600 invested at simple interest for 2 years earns 96, right? What is the rate? Be advised that the formula for rate says that your interest times 100 over your principal times the time. In this context, we're talking about 600 times our interest, which is 96 over our principal. Oh, I wrote the wrong thing, right? Let me do this over. My interest is 96, right? So 96 times 100 over my principal, which is 600 times my time, which is 2. Sorry about that. So now we work this, listen to this 1, listen to this 6. You could break it down. You're talking about 96 over 12. So 96 over 12 is about 8 times. If you know your 8 times, this is 8. So the answer is actually 8% that was actually paid. All right, we're running to number 19. Let's see what number 19 says. Number 19 says here that a plot of land is valued at 18,000. All right, land tax is charged at a rate of 70 cents per 100. What is the total amount paid as tax for the land? What we want to do for this question, since it is charged per 100, we want to see how many hundreds can I get out of 18,000. So when you divide this, you're going to get 180 hundreds. Now, for every 100, it is 70 cents. So it is 0.7. So all I want to do is to multiply my 180 times 0.7. Remember, though, you do your multiplication, you're going to get 1260. Remember, there's a decimal point here. So it's 106, 126. That is the answer right there. So it's ordinary multiplication, and we walk ourselves through it. Number 20, customer bought a table on hire purchase. He makes a deposit of 306 and pays 6 monthly installments of $60. The total cost to the customer is what? Let's read it. The customer bought the table and hire purchase, right? So there's a deposit. Remember that hire purchase is simply equal to your deposit, which is that down payment, plus your amount that we say amount payable, which is the ones that you come back and pay after. The deposit in this case was $306. There were 6 installments of $60. So basically this is 306 plus 360, and I'm looking at $666. and that is going to be the amount that was paid over the time. So what you want to do with these sort of questions is just make sure that you read it, make sure that you're paying attention to details as you go. Let's take a look at 21. As you could see, we are actually in the consumer math ideas. It says Mary invested $200 for 3 years at 5% per annum. John invested 3 at the same rate, which is at 5%. If both of them would have received the same interest, for how long did John did his? So what you could do is to set up Mary's interest on one side. So Mary and John. So let us look on Mary's interest. Mary's interest is simply the principal 200 times the rate, which is 5, times the time, which is 3, over 100. John is going to equal to his principal, which is 300, times the same rate, which is 5, times t, which is what we intend to find. Now, let us take a look quickly. You could see that these cancel out, that cancel out. What we're looking at is 2 times 5 times 3, this is 30, is equal to 15t. We're working this down with our regular knowledge. So t is equal to 2. So t is 2 years. Why did I just do that? It's because we're suggesting that you apply yourself very simply. If you understand what they're saying, you're going to equate, all right? You're going to equate their interests and then find that one variable. And in this context, it is a t, right? Let us go at 22. A company employs 12 gardeners at $26 per day. A clerk and 8 clerks at $17 per day. What is the mean wage in dollars of the 20 workers? So what I'm going to do is just to find out the total money. So basically, I'll say 26 times 12. So want to work out this. So this is going to give me 2, carry 1, 2. This is 5, put a 0. This is 2, 6. So, all right. So basically, this is 2, 1, 3. All right. Then I'm going to work out this 17 times my 8. So 17 times 8 to work out that. That's about 136. So when I add these two, so I'm going to add the 136 to the 312. I'm going to get something like 448. So when I add these, I get 448. What I did was I'm finding the total money that was spent. So now I want to divide this into the 20 workers. So now I'm going to divide that by 20. All right. So if you divide this by 20, very simply, you're going to get $22.40 when you break this down. So 2 into this 10, 2 into this 2, 2, 4, 10 into anything, you move the decimal point right here. And that is why we get that. So as you could see, we are able to just understand what we're looking at. Go there, find what you want. The answer is already waiting. Let us go to question 23, I believe I'm at. So we're finding y. Basically, this is a regular question that we have to solve. So we're just going to solve it ordinarily. We're going to distribute 2 times y. That is going to give you 2y. 2 times 4, or -4, this is -8, and this is equal to 16. Let us add it to both sides in an effort to isolate the y. I'm going to get 24, divide this by 2, divide this by 2, y is equal to 12. So 23, my answer is D. What I'm doing there, I'm just solving a regular algebraic equation simply, and we go. Let us take a look at 24. So now we're looking at algebra. The middle term in the expression is what? If they ask me to find the middle term, I'm not going to do every single thing. What I'm going to do, though, I'm going to work on the middle term, because if I employ the FOIL, remember FOIL, 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 right? This part will give me the middle term, which is 3 times x, which is 3x, and then x times -1, you give me -1x, or you could just say -x, depending on how you feel, but this will finally work itself to 2x, so 24 is C. Why didn't I work out everything? Because the question specifically says the middle term, so you want to focus on the term in the middle, which is right here. This is what we're focusing on right there. So I never needed to work out the other things, all right? No. The expression -2 into x minus 4 is the same as what? what I'm going to do here is what we do all the time. We're going to distribute -2 inside the bracket. So we'll have -2x, and then -2 times this is +8. I'm looking for -2x plus 8. So we look, and the answer is at D. So 25 is at D, and we keep moving. If m asterisk n is equal to the square root of mn minus n squared, then 5 asterisk 3 is what? We're simply going to substitute. Right? Remember that the question start off by saying, listen, if m asterisk n gives us this, then if I'm looking for 5 asterisk 3, the 5 will function like the m, the 3 will function like the n, and this is because of the order in which they appeared. So basically what we're looking at here is that we're going to have 5 times 3 minus 3 squared. And that is going to give me 15 minus 9. And that's going to give me the square root of 6. And I'm looking for this. My answer is at A. All right. So simply you apply yourself. Try not to error as you go. Let's take a look at 27. If 15 squared gives 225, then the square root of point. So they're asking if you should take the square root of this, right? All right. What would you get? Now, we all know that answer is going to end with a 1 and a 5. Definitely, it's not 15. We know that. But here it is that you want to think of what's the meaning behind the square root. The answer you're looking for, if you multiply those by itself, or that thing by itself, it's going to lead us to 0.0225. That's the idea. If I multiply the answer I'm looking for, it's going to give me 0.0225. Now, when you multiply and you get 4 decimal places, it means that since it was something that was squared, you need something with 2 decimal places. So I have to use 0.15 square. You understand? So that means the answer is 0.15, because if you square it, that's the only way you're going to get this coming out. So my answer has to be at B. So this is about, do you understand how decimal numbers operate, especially when they're multiplied? Let us take a look at 28. 28 says, given that 2x plus 3 is greater than or equal to 9, the range of values of x is what? Let us solve this. The beauty about solving an equation is that what you have to do is to solve it the same way you solve a regular equation. So 2x is greater than or equal to 6, right? Subtracting 3 from both sides. Divide everything by 2, then you'll see that x must be greater than or equal to 3. I'm looking for that. The answer is at B. All right, so 28 is B. Let's go to 29, all right? So 29 says, if a 6 is added to a number, if a 6 is added to a number, right? 6 is added to a number, and the sum, this combined thing is divided by 3, the result is 4. So I'm looking for this, or I'm looking for this. Anyone? Hold on. So, or you're looking for this, right? Same thing, which is this. So read, make sure that you have the right context for the question. And this key thing that says sum tells you that everything there must be divided by 3. Let's take a look at number 30. Number 30 says John has X marbles and Max has twice as many. So in our words then, let us just label John and let us just label Max. So John has X, and then Max has twice, which is 2 times X. We have that. Now, it did say that Max gave Tom. So we don't know Tom. Tom is wherever. Max gave Tom 5 of his. Max gave. When you gave, you subtract. So now how many marbles does Max now have? So you would have to say that 2x, and you take away 5 from it. You're looking for that, and here it is. So it's about making sure that you understand what they're asking for, all right, before you go. Let us take a look at 31, I believe. So 31 says the sides of a triangle are x minus 1 and x plus 2. If the perimeter is 31, then the shortest side is what? So let us just drop a diagram. Its side is x, right? So here's the idea. X plus x minus 1 plus x plus 2 does add to give 31 based on the fact that the perimeter is 31. So x plus x plus x, this is 3x. Negative 1, positive 2, that's positive 1 equal to 31. Subtract 1 from both sides. We're having that 3x is equal to 30. Divide by 3, divide by 3. X is 10. All right, so x is equal to 10. So x is equal to 10. But in a response to the question for the shortest side, though, the shortest side is going to be 10 minus 1 because this is going to be 9. This side is going to be 12 and this side is going to be 10. So in a response to the question, the shortest side is x minus 1. So it has to be 9. All right, so let us pay attention to details right there. Number, the mass in kilogram of a bag of rice is given as 10.6 kilogram, correct to 1 decimal place, which suggests that it was rounded, right? The range of values in which the actual mass lies is what? All right, we want to see if these could have been rounded to give this and nothing else. Let's take a look. This is not good because this is saying less than. So that means if I have, this means that 10.6 is already here, right? 10.68 is already here. 10.69, and this could go to 10.7, but we have to stop at 6, so this can't work. Why I wouldn't take this part is good because this is rounding me to 6, but this part though, because what if this was a 10.64, then because this is saying that it has to be less than that, but 10.64 does round to 10.6 as well. So this is excluding 10 point because there's no equal here. It's excluding this number, and this number is a part of the whole thing. This will round up to 7. This is perfect. Why? Because this is less than. That means this is saying 10.1, 10 point, as in 10.61, 10.62, 10.63, up to 10.64, because it's less than this. So 10.64 and greater than 10.55 would be good for us. So we have to look carefully because B would have been a very good answer if you're not looking. Now let's take a look at this. The diagram below shows a cylinder. All right. Hold on. Let me see if this is going on. All right, good. It says the diagram below shows a cylinder with a 6 cm as height and height 20. All right. Now, so the question says the volume in cm cube of the cylinder. The volume is going to be area of the, it's always going to be the area of the circle, which is the base times the height, in this case 20. So basically, remember pi r square h, pi meter was given, so the radius is 3, right? So you have to divide the 6 by 2 to get the radius, and then times 20. Let's put that together. This is 9 times 20. This is 180 with your pi. So anything with 180 pi, and we're good. And we're seeing that. So 33, the answer is actually a 34. The distance, this says the distance along the edge of a circle pond or a circular pond is 88. Then the radius is what? Distance along the edge is referring to circumference. Circumference is equal to 2 pi r. So 88, which is the distance along it, times 2 pi r. So I want to divide by 2 pi, divide by 2 pi because I'm trying to find r. 88 over 2 pi is d. 34 is d, and we're good. Let's go to see what 35 is. So 35 says here, AOB is a sector of a circle such that angle AOB is 72 and OB is a radius, right? We want to see the area of this section here. The area of it is to put that central angle out of the 360 degrees. So we're representing it as a fraction times the area of that circle, which is pi r square. 72 into of 1, 72 into this 5. So this is actually 1/5 pi r square, and it is at C. So 35 is actually C. Where is 36? Down here. Similar idea. So it says here, so we have a central angle of 36, and what do they want? What is the length of the arc AB? So it's the same context where the angle at the center, which is 36 over 360, and now it's going to be times 2 pi r, because this is circumference now. R 2 times pi, whichever way you want to write it, times r is 10. And then you work this out. This into this one, this into this. 10. And then this into this one. So the answer is 2 pi. The answer is A at 36. Right? So right there, 36 is A. Let us see what 37 is. All right, we're still on circles. So the circumference is 132. This is pi. What is the radius? Remember that circumference is equal to 2 pi r. Circle to 2 pi r. Let's employ some quick work. So 132 is equal to 2 times pi times r. All right, so basically we're left with 132, which is equal to 44 over 7 r. Let's multiply both sides by the reciprocal of the fraction that we intend to get rid of. So I'm reciprocating 44 over 7, and I'm going to do it on both sides. So I have 7 over 44. 11 into 44 is 4, but 11 into 132 is 12. 4 over 4, which is equal to r, 2, 1. So it's going to be 21. So 37 is actually 21. Now let's take a look at it. Which of the following below has an area equal to this? Remember, this is a trapezium. So what you're looking for is half the sum of the parallel sides, which is this. So my parallel side should be 3 and 4. This is good, but this is not the height. This is good, that's wrong. So take a look, half the sum of the parallel sides times the height. It's going to be at C, where I'm seeing my 3 here, my 4 here, and my 5 as the height here. This is the one that would have given that. So definitely 38 is actually C. Let's see what 39 is. 39 says, a man leaves his home at 22. This is like 10:15, right, in the night, and he reaches his destination 4, and this is like 4 a.m. in the morning. All right, so how long did the journey take? You could check it out. This is actually from this to midnight is 1 hour and 45 to midnight. So if you add this to that, that's 5 over 45, which is 45 is 3/4 of an hour. That's 39 right there. Let's do the last one. 40. The table below shows the frequency scores we have. So we have the scores here. We have the number of students. This is F. This is X. What's the range? The range is the highest subtract the smallest. All right, or the lowest, I should say. And remember, this is not scores. The scores is up here. That is going to be 10 minus 2, and the range is 8. One other thing you have to bear in mind is that you have to look carefully. Your frequency is not your data, all right, that you're using. All right, the scores should say, so you have to pay attention to that. So the answer for that one is actually 8. All right, thank you for watching Daily Maths Concept, and see you next time. Bye-bye.